Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Inside the Orange podcast. Firstly, thank you so much to everyone who has watched the last episode with Luke Bromley, the Hold the Line episode, and thank you so much. I've had some lovely comments and some fantastic feedback about it. And again, Luke, massive thank you to you for telling your story. It's again such a genuine story, such an honest story. So guys, if you haven't heard it, there is going to be a link in the description just so you can catch up with that. So please take the opportunity to listen to this a great story that Luke told last week. So next week I will have the amazing the motivational firewood guy Steve Gamlin, a conversation we did back in February that I'm so delighted it comes to the world. He is such an inspirational guy, and again we have such a great interview and sparks fly definitely with the motivational firewood guy, so have a look out for that next week. But today's episode is one that I've been thinking about for a little while for doing, and it's really important to me at the moment because of what we're going through in the UK. So obviously we've been in lockdown for such a long time, and it's been very difficult kind of as a key worker going into places and seeing skeleton staff and things like that. And this episode today is it's called Back to Normality. And it's about bridging the gap between the people who've had to be furloughed, people who've had to work from home, to the people that obviously have been working throughout, and just making sure that when people do come back into businesses, that we care, we motivate, and we inspire them to feel that they've never been away. So this, as I say, is the Back to Normality episode. So let's get into the episode. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you for everyone who listened to last episode, the interview with Luke Bromley, and for everyone who's listened and sent me stuff since the beginning of this season of the podcast. So today I'm talking about people. Now, being an Understanding People podcast, that's quite normal, I suppose, to be talking about people. But this is more today about people coming back to work. So we're in this lockdown in the UK, so we've had people who haven't been working since potentially last March. So people who have been furloughed, or, unfortunately companies and places have kind of gone under, or people, working from home, however that's looked. And we're getting back to a point now where we might be seeing a little bit of normality. Now, again, I don't want to speak too soon. And again, depending on when this video comes out, maybe this is completely bogus. And, people are going, well, it never really happened, Rich. I don't know. But as I'm sitting here right now talking, we're in the brink of people coming back to work. And I want to talk about what that might be like for people. So first and foremost, I want to talk about something that I've been a part of. So being a key worker, so I have been a key worker for the duration of the lockdown in the UK. So I've always been at work. I've always had work to be done and to go to. And I'm blessed for that. I'm 100% thankful that I've had work every single day. But it makes me think about the people that maybe haven't had that, have been working from home. Obviously, without looking at figures or statistics, I know mental health has suffered massively from people when they've started to work or when they've been working from home. And I kind of wanted to do this episode today based on us all coming back together. And again, I want to talk happy families. I want to talk everything going back into a certain case. But I think it's really important that we need to understand that certain people and certain situations are going to affect people's mental health, how they come back into work, how they communicate with people. And I think it's very important that we make sure that there's a level of understanding, there's a level of patience with people. So let's talk about people who maybe have been at work since the start of it. So again, I'm blessed. Other than there was 2 weeks when my wife had symptoms from COVID. Again, I can't really talk about this without talking about COVID, so obviously I'm going to have to mention that. My wife had symptoms. We had to lock down for 10 days at the time. Sorry, 2 weeks at the time, while potentially systems. That was at the beginning. That was late March, early April time last year. So I then had 2 weeks off. And the big thing about that was very early in the pandemic. So I remember going back to work after 2 weeks and not sure what work was anymore. The difference in 2 weeks of what work might be, what a situation, what my job might entail, what I have to do. You hear these stories when you're off, people message you and say, oh, this is completely different, or we're having to do this or that or whatever. And again, it's all safety. I'm not knocking anything at all. Everywhere I've worked has had a very good safety measure to it, which is fantastic. That's all I can ask for in this current time. So I remember after those 2 weeks that I felt very apprehensive, and I felt very kind of, what is this going to be? Where am I? And I have to be completely honest when I say that people who are in this position after a year, I can't begin to think how that would feel. Obviously, how I felt, that anxiety, that kind of struggle first and foremost, was kind of difficult for me. But then if you multiply it to someone who's had to do it for a year, that's going to be really interesting. And that's kind of what got me thinking today. So again, I know people are going to come back into work and it's going to be different. They're going to want to know what's going on with deep cleaning. They're going to want to know that their office is safe, COVID friendly, masks, etc. They're going to want to know that case. And I think as people who have been key workers, we need to kind of appreciate that. And I think it's a kind of role reversal from the previous. So where we've gone into shops, where we've seen shop workers. And again, I get really kind of concerned when I read about shop worker abuse and things like that. And you think, why, this person has got to face this every day. I understand it must be really, really hard for you to go into work and be scared of going into work and then have to serve the public. And I think to myself that we've got to be very conscious of that from the other way round. So when people go back to work after lockdown, when businesses start opening up, when the economies start opening up, that we do start to get to a point where we understand that end of it. So as key workers who haven't been away from their work, go back to seeing people coming back who have been off, and they haven't been on holiday, they haven't been doing stuff that's just suits them. It's been a very different change. You imagine someone working for the same place for 20 odd years, going to work, going into the same environment every single day, coming in and then having to going to the point of not doing that anymore. After 20 years, not doing that anymore. And that kind of build on mental health, that struggle on your mental health will be very different, will be very difficult. And I know people will ask things, and people who have been in key worker roles or what roles that are like that, they have got this kind of advantage over someone else. They've got this advantage that they've been in there since day one. So why, they don't need to worry because it's safe. I understand that. But also imagine not being in the place for that long and not having that safety and just feeling that anxiety of going back to work. So my message for people is, obviously, if you've been at work, fantastic, well done, it's been brilliant. And as I say, I'm a key worker, so I completely understand we have lived every day of this pandemic. But so is someone else, but just in a different environment. So when they come back into the working world, let's not judge, let's not make them feel different, because they are going to go through a massive anxiety kind of transformation. And I think that's really important that we make sure we accept people back into work. And again, ask them how they are, make sure that kind of mental health process is followed well. So let's talk about some of the most adaptable people that we've had in our lives recently. And I think that's the most important are the children that have had to go and homeschool, the children that have had to be in school, the children that have had it a little bit of both ways. And I'm not taking anything away, but that resilience of these children has been absolutely amazing. And again, they probably are the most affected because this is an education, at the same time of being the least affected because of the adaptability with children. I think we're going to see an adaptability to the education for the next few years in the country to kind of make sure everyone's kind of up to date. But let's not forget that one of the biggest things that we need to talk about And one of the biggest reasons we need people to go to work, and one of the reasons we need the children to go to school, is that social side, is that social way of how they are. So it brings me on to a point that I'm digressing slightly, but I remember recently I've been going out and I've started to see things pop up again. Signs about antisocial behaviour. Okay, signs of certain things. We're closing this because we've seen antisocial behaviour. And it made me think, and again, I'm not taking away people, if you are going to go and do things that shouldn't be done, then obviously don't do it. I don't advocate it at all. But I thought to myself, we are currently in an antisocial world. And again, I'm not getting too political on it. I'm not getting too society based on it. But we are currently in a place where we can't see certain people. We can't do everything we want to do. We are very social people. And we've kind of got to a point where we enjoy seeing people. And I've got to the fact where I start speaking to family more. And I'm kind of building that social bit where I think probably 2 years ago, 18 months ago, we may have all been lost on our phones. We might have all been neglecting that time we've got with other people because we were too socio-technical or whatever, however you want to call it. But we're missing having coffee with friends. We're missing having that conversation with family face to face over the garden fence, things like that. And this is no different to going back to work. This is no different to going to the office. You spend a lot of time with the people you work with, and sometimes that socialness is the bit you're missing out. So again, for people who have been in work since day one, remember that this social aspect of people has been missing. Some of the best teams I've seen working have been teams with key workers, just key workers in, skeletal staff and things like that, small amounts of people, but who are working together because that is that social bit they've got. And it's really important. The other thing we need to think about is employment and things like that. Obviously, people have been in a place where jobs have gone, and this is really tough. And people are going to start working for different businesses. Different businesses are going to grow where other businesses have failed. And it's really important now that the people that we have working for us, we do appreciate. I said to someone recently that the most important thing that someone during the pandemic who is a key worker should write on their CV is that they worked throughout the pandemic. Now, again, that's not saying that's a bit unfair because people who hadn't got that opportunity, that's not fair. But I'm not meaning it from an opportunistic point. I'm meaning it of the fact that people, when they are able to work through a pandemic, that adaptability that you may need, the government come in, they make different decisions or different things, or one day this is open, one day this is closed. And these people have got to understand they've got to roll with this. And that skill of being that adaptable is something that I don't know why any company in the world would not be jumping up and down going, these are the people we want. So people, if you manage people, if you lead people, make sure you are that caring and that much for your people that they're now not looking for somewhere else to go and work because someone may treat them better. I saw something the other day on LinkedIn, and it was about motivating people when they come back to work. How should we do it? Extended coffee breaks. We'll have this once a month. We'll have this once a month. Just different bits and pieces. And I first of all, I praise that person because actually they're thinking about how to motivate someone from coming back to work from being off furloughed or being off working from home. And I appreciate the fact that they're thinking about that. But it also did worry me because I'm not criticising the message, but please, for 1 minute, don't think that spending money on something that you might not be able to sustain, if you can't do that every month, your staff will start to realise, well, it was only a one-off. But a conversation about asking how someone's family are, about asking how they're doing, how they're feeling, that empathy, that extra little bit of care and support that these people may need might just be the difference. It'll be the difference between them staying in your company and going. And you don't have to go out and spend $4,000 on a new coffee machine or write off this much kind of work because we're going to go and do team building days and things like this because we need to get everyone back to who they are. It starts with a conversation. It starts with care. It starts with, how are you today? How was your time working from home? What worked when you were working at home that you think could continue in your job? And what didn't work? What did you find that if you had to do that again, this is what I wouldn't want to be doing? Learn from these experiences and learn from the people who have done it. Again, people who have been working from home, learn from the people who have been key working and doing the stuff all the way through. Learn from these people. How have you coped? How have you survived? How have you felt going to work every day? And the people who key work, how did you manage your day? How did you do all this? Because as soon as we start asking that, as soon as we start caring for anyone, that will show that you want to motivate people. And that's what this is all about. It starts with a conversation. And this is what the Inside the Orange has been about since day one. It's about understanding people. Don't go and try and rewrite the rule book. Don't go and try and do something that you cannot sustain. Something I do talk about quite often on my podcasts, and most recently more on my Insta lives and my Insta videos. If you've seen them, have a look at Inside the Orange on Instagram. You'll see some bits and pieces on that. And it's about building habits. So again, go back from what I said a few minutes ago with your people that are joining, with your people that are coming back to work. Why don't you ask them small things that they could change? You know, what could we? How do we bridge the gap? I talk about things like returning to work. So imagine someone's been laid off for a year. You know, I've worked in businesses before where return to works were really important. Phased returns and all this stuff was really important. And again, if your company's doing this, I'm preaching to the choir. You're good. You're golden. Well done. That's fantastic. But the companies that aren't doing this, think about phased returns. Think about how it would feel to be out of the business for this long and how you would need to kind of build that fitness up. I had a friend recently who told me you do use a lot of football analogies when you do your podcasts and your things. And I'll use one right now. You wouldn't expect your star striker to come back after a year off and ask him to play 90 minutes. It doesn't work. And again, we're just the same. We're just the same with people, with care, with everything like that. Make sure that people are built back into your work, back into your economy, built back into what you need them to do. And don't just assume that when you've been working at home, so it's just the same. It's not. It's going to take such a kind of time to do this. Now, I didn't know, when I first thought about this episode, I thought, I don't know kind of how well this is going to be received. And I don't know. And again, if you feel that everything I'm saying today or part of what I'm saying is good, let me know. If you're saying if you feel anything I'm saying today, I'm missing the point, or why are you telling me this, or why are you kind of putting a negative spin on it? Tell me. If you think it's not being done right, then please tell me. Again, the idea of understanding people, the idea of the podcast was to just think differently. And I've just spent a few weeks while I'm still working, while I'm watching little bits of people come back to work, I'm seeing a very different people than what was there a year ago. And there's that anxiety. And with that anxiety, there is very kind of strong words. Emotions are very visible to see now that people are still not 100% sure where they want to be or how they want to be. So I just ask you, get in touch, talk to me. This is about understanding people, and this is the first time I've done a clear talk to people out there saying, this is what I think we need to be doing in this current time. Again, it's been fantastic doing this episode today. I hope you get something out of it. Honestly, I do. And just continue to keep supporting your people. And again, if you want to get in touch, the links are all coming. They'll also be in the show notes or the description. Come and talk to me. Let's have a chat and see how we can understand people a little bit better. Thanks for listening to this episode. If this podcast is something you enjoy, then please subscribe to the podcasts and make sure you like and share so more people can hear our message. Remember, if you have any questions for me or my guests, you can get in touch via our website, insidetheorange.co.uk, on Twitter @OrangeWatts, on Instagram @InsideTheOrange, or on Facebook on the Inside the Orange podcast. And finally, there's the email of insidethisorange@gmail.com. All these links will be available in the description. Thanks for listening, goodbye and take care.